أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد. أحسنت. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، إلها أحدا فردا صمدا حيا قيوما، لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله، أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد، وترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد، وتحنن على محمد وعلى آل محمد، كما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله ونظم أمركم وصلاح ذات البين، فإنها خير من عامة الصلاة والصيام. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. My dear brothers and sisters, I congratulate you all on the greatest of all of the Eids, and that is Eidul Ghadir. The day of Ghadir is considered to be Eidullah al-Akbar, the greatest of all of the A'yad. And this is because on the day of Eid al-Ghadir, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, in front of over 100,000 Muslims, appointed Imam Ali alayhi salam to be the leader after him. And Rasulullah was very clear after the verse was revealed: Ya ayyuha ar-rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik wa in lam taf'al fama ballaghta risalatah wallahu ya'simuka min an-nas. O messenger, deliver that which your Lord has commanded you to deliver, and if you don't, it's as if you have not delivered the message. Rasulullah stopped over 100,000 Muslims coming back from the Hajj, and he delivered a sermon, and he tells them in that sermon, Yushak an ud'a fa ujib. My time is coming near and I will be leaving you. But I have several important messages, several important things that I need to share with you. And he mentions Hadith al-Thaqalain, this hadith that is accepted by all Muslims. Inni tarikun fikum al-Thaqalain, kitab Allah wa itrati ahla bayti. I am leaving behind the two weighty things, the book of Allah and my Ahlul Bayt. And then he says they shall never separate from one another until they reach me at the pond of Kawthar in paradise. And then he tells them, Alastu awla bikum min anfusikum? As a prophet, do I not have priority over yourselves? Because the Quran is very clear. If I'm a mu'min, if I'm a believer, النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم. If I'm a mu'min, I have to put the prophet ahead of myself. So he tells them, ألست أولى بكم من أنفسكم? قالوا نعم. They said, yes, Ya Rasulullah. They all agreed that Rasulullah, he has wilaya. He is the mawla of the believers. And then he calls Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he raises the hands of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he says, ألا من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه اللهم وال من والاه وعاد من عاداه وانصر من نصره واخذل من خذله. Then the Muslims, they all gave allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen. They waited for a couple days according to narrations, giving bay'ah, the men and the women giving bay'ah to Ali ibn Abi Talib. The men, they used to come and shake the hands. And in numerous ahadith, in numerous books of hadith, some of the first who came and gave bay'ah to Amir al-Mu'mineen were those who first took the khilafah from Ali ibn Abi Talib. They come to him and they tell him, Bakhin, bakhin lak. This is the statement. Bakhin, bakhin laka ya Ali, asbahta mawlai wa mawla kulli muslim wa muslimah. You are my mawla, and you are the mawla of all of the believers. And then they gave bay'ah, and the woman, they used to put a bowl of water, a container of water, and they used to put their hands in the water, and Amir al-Mu'mineen put his hands in the water. This was a gesture of bay'ah, a gesture of giving allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salam. And then the verse also in Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is one of the last surahs to be revealed in the Quran. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. Today your deen is complete, and the ni'mah is also complete. وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. Now Islam is a full religion. Now it's a full package. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, there are several very important points to share. Last night, we had a celebration here. I shared some points regarding Ghadir. Today, I want to talk about several other points that are very important. One is that divine leadership, divine representation. Who has the right to represent God? Who has the right to speak on behalf of God? Can any person come and say, I speak on behalf of God? Of course not. We could all gather here in this room. We could elect someone who represents us. And this is the shura that the religion of Islam talks about. And this is democracy in Islam. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. Their matters, وَأَمْرُهُمْ, not وَأَمْرِي شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. وَأَمْرُهُمْ, their matters are a matter of shura amongst themselves. And this is where we see Islam and democracy, they go hand in hand. There's nothing wrong with that. If we want someone to represent us, to speak on our behalf, we could elect someone, and this person will represent us. But what about someone who speaks on behalf of God? What about someone who teaches us the details and intricacies of the Quran? Someone who will give us the tafsir of the Quran. Someone who will be clear in clarifying the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we know for a fact that Muslims are divided over these issues. Today, some Muslims, they fold their hands and they pray. Some Muslims, they have their hands down. Some Muslims, they accept some verses in the Quran in one way, other verses they accept it in another way. The Quran is the message of God to us. And the Prophet is the one who delivered, and the Prophet is a mufassir. And there needs to be someone else that clarifies the Quran, that interprets the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here, this is an issue of divine representation, meaning no one could speak on behalf of God. This is why when Allah talks about the prophets, Allah says, Ya Dawood, inna ja'alnaka khalifatan fil ard. I chose you, O Dawood. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. I chose Adam. The word ja'al is used. Ja'al means divine appointment. It means I am making you my khalifa. I am making you the representative of God on earth. And this is an issue where there's a disagreement. Some people, they come and they say, no, any person who comes and leads the prayer, any person who comes and stands up amongst the Muslims, then this person will be the Khalifa of Rasulullah. How is that possible? How can any person that just comes forward, whether they come forward in a reasonable way or in a way of causing bloodshed, and then they become the representative of God? Can a criminal, can a tyrant, can a terrorist be the representative of God? A few years ago, Daesh, ISIS emerged. They came and they said, there's a Khalifa. They have a Khalifa, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He called himself the Khalifa of God. He used the same The same system that was used against Ali ibn Abi Talib. That was the very same system. What was different? A group of people, they came and they said, he is the leader. It wasn't God appointing. We say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who appoints. Second, the leader must have specific qualities. Can any person assume the position of leadership? Here, we also see a very big difference. Today, we, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, we say that the leadership must be someone who comes with specific qualities. Not any person could be a leader. Even Salah Jama'ah. We cannot go and pray behind any person. You cannot go and just follow any person, make this person your leader. No. Whereas unfortunately, due to the change of the system, there were ahadith, there were narrations that were inserted in the books of hadith that say, according to Rasulullah, supposedly Rasulullah say, Sallu khalfa kulli barrin aw fajr. Go and pray behind any person, bar aw fajr, meaning this person's a righteous or this person's a sinner. Go and pray behind this person. Go and follow the Sahaba, also a hadith that we don't accept, where Rasulullah supposedly said, my Sahaba, they are like the stars. Whichever one you follow, you will be guided. We don't accept this. We know that during the time of Rasulullah, there was a whole surah in the Quran that was brought down that was called Surah al-Munafiqeen, Munafiqun. A whole surah talking about the hypocrites. There were individuals that just joined the religion of Islam the last months of the life of the Prophet, and there were individuals like Ali ibn Abi Talib who was the first to join the religion of Islam. There were individuals who ran away in the battles, and there was Ali ibn Abi Talib who stood defending Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi day and night in the battle. In all times, Ali ibn Abi Talib was there. It's not fair to come and look at everyone as the same. And yes, history is very clear that they are not the same. The leader, the one who God chooses, is the one who has to have the infallibility, the asma. The leader must have the knowledge. And you see that these apply to no one other than Ali ibn Abi Talib. أنا مدينة العلم وعلي بابها فمن أراد المدينة والحكمة فليأتها من بابها. You see that the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, we don't just follow them because of blind love. No, because they had the qualifications. They had the features that made them qualified leaders that represent the Quran and represent Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear brothers and sisters, another very important point, the day of Ghadir is referred to as the day of bay'ah, the day of allegiance. And it is, in fact, the day of allegiance. This is why until today we celebrate the day of Ghadir. Why? Because one thing that we have to renew, we renew our vows. You know, have you seen married couple? After 10 years, 20 years, they come and they renew their vows. Well, we need to, as Muslims, as believers, we need to renew our vow with God every day when we say the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul. In fact, always renew that oath, because you never know when you're going to die. And you need to always always make sure that you are on the haqq, on the right path. Renew that testament of faith. Say the Shahada every day. Say the names of the Imams every day. Remind yourself of this. And also on the day of Ghadir, renew your oath of allegiance. Between yourself, say, Ilahi, these are my Imams. This is who I follow after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. So it's a day of choice. You make the choice. Leadership, just like believing in God, it cannot be forced upon anyone. You need to make the choice. When you make the choice to believe in God, your faith in God will carry more value. When you make the choice to believe in Rasulullah, your love for Rasulullah will carry more value. And when you make the choice to follow the Imam after Rasulullah, then that will carry much more value than as opposed to you being born in a Muslim family, born in a Shi'i family. There were individuals, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa he gave the Muslims the opportunity. You make the choice. And there were individuals that rejected Ali ibn Abi Talib on the day of Ghadir. Several scholars from the non-Shi'i school of thought. One of them, Al-Hakim Al-Hasakani, in his book Shawahid Al-Tanzil, he says that in this hadith, in the tafsir of this verse, سأل سائل بعذاب واقع للكافرين ليس له دافع من الله ذي المعارج. Surah Al-Ma'arij, the first few verses of Surah Al-Ma'arij. A man, after the event of Ghadir, he comes to Rasulullah by the name of Al-Harith ibn Amr Al-Fihri. Al-Harith Al-Fihri. This man comes to Rasulullah, فقال إنك أتيتنا بخبر السماء فصدقناك وقبلنا منك. You came to us with news from the heavens and we accepted you. We believe in God, we believe in the salah, we believe in everything. And then he says, فارتحل الحارث. And then he says, إنك أتيتنا بخبر من السماء فصدقناك وقبلنا منك. And then he says, he asks the Prophet, he tells him, you told us to believe in God, you told us to let go of our idols, you told us to do this, and we did everything. Now you bring your cousin, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and you appoint him as our leader. Is this from you or is this from God? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi said, Wallah, this is from God. This is not from me. This is not from me. And then the man walked away and he said, Allahumma in kana hada mink. Oh Allah, if this was from you, then bring on us adab from the sky. Bring on us something to show us a sign. He walks and a rock from the sky comes and it falls on him and it kills him. And the verse was revealed, سَأَلَ سَائِلٌ بِعَذَابٍ وَاقِعٍ لِلْكَافِرِينَ لَيْسَ لَهُ دَافِعٍ مِنَ اللَّهِ ذِي الْمَعَارِجِ. So my dear brothers and sisters, Ghadir is a choice. You can choose whether to accept Ali or not accept Ali ibn Abi Talib. However, the acceptance of Ali ibn Abi Talib is a great fadl, it is a great merit that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will only give those who Allah defines as a full mu'min, the one who fully accepts the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. In a beautiful hadith from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, the sixth Imam of Ahl al-Bayt, he says, ولايتي لعلي ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam أحب إلي من ولادتي منه. He says, my wila, me, the fact that I follow Ali ibn Abi Talib, this is Imam al-Sadiq, he's saying this. This is more beloved to me than the fact that I am his grandson. I love the fact that I'm a Shi'i, a follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib, more than I am from the descendants of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why? He says, لأن ولايتي لعلي ibn Abi Talib فرض وولادتي منه فضل. He says, because the wila, the love and the obedience to Ali ibn Abi Talib is fard. This is wajib upon me. This is something that I have to do. But the being born from the lineage of Ali ibn Abi Talib, this is fadl, this is grace, this is something good. But this is the fard, accepting to choose Ali ibn Abi Talib as the leader, this is the choice that will make me a mu'min. This is the choice that will complete my iman. So my dear brothers and sisters, we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this blessing, and we have to make the choice of accepting the wilaya. I will end here to go on to the next khutbah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صلوا على محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصيه ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازيه. نحمده ونسبحه ونقدسه على آلائه ونعمائه. من يهد الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له من بعده. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد وتحنن على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين والشهداء والصديقين، وصل اللهم على علي أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المحجلين إلى جنات النعيم، وصل اللهم على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، وصل اللهم على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة، وصل اللهم على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة الخلف الهادي المهدي، عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم صل على. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: يوم ندعو كل أناس بإمامهم فمن أوتي كتابه بيمينه فأولئك يقرؤون كتابهم ولا يظلمون فتيلا. On the day of judgment, one of the most important questions that every person will be asked is regarding your imam, regarding your leader. Who did you choose as role models? Who did you choose to take your values and your principles from in this life? And this is a question that is very important and very relevant to our today. Today, who I look at as a role model determines what kind of a person I am. The one I look at as a role model determines the clothing that I wear, the music or what I listen to, the things that I like to do. This is why it's very important to surround ourselves with individuals that can be individuals that make us a better person. Today, some people, they come and they turn on the TV and they listen to whoever it may be. Or just because someone is, for example, an athlete, someone is a Hollywood star, and they come and they idolize this person in a way where this person becomes the one who determines how they live their life. The clothing that you wear, the things that you say, the places that you want to go, who you want to hang around with. This is dangerous, my dear brothers and sisters. Just because someone is famous, just because someone is an athlete, a known athlete, or someone is known, does this mean that this person should be idolized, that I should follow this person, whatever they're saying and whatever they're doing? No. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very clear in the Quran, يَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. On the day of judgment, people will stand behind those who they chose as leaders. When it comes to leaders in this life, leaders in politics, and leaders of who I take my religion from. Who do I take my religion from? Who do I take how to pray from? My fasting, my zakat, my hajj, everything that I follow in my religion. Who is my leader? Who do I look up to? This is very important. On the day of judgment, the Quran is very clear. People will stand behind those who they took as leaders. يَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. Everyone will have to stand behind their imam. This is why the role of imama and the role of leadership is very important. Some people, they come and they say, why do you guys make such a big deal about this? You guys keep saying Ali ibn Abi Talib and imama and all these things. This is stuff in the past. No, it's not in the past. These are things that affect us right now. It affects how I pray. It affects how I interact with people. It affects everything in my life. And in a hadith from Zurara is one of the companions of Imam al-Baqir and one of the companions of Imam Sadiq. Zurara, he mentions in a hadith from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, where Imam al-Baqir says, بُنِيَ الْإِسْلَامِ عَلَى خَمْسَةِ أَشْيَاء. There are 5 foundations to Islam. There are 5 foundations to religion. What are they? Ala salat. The first foundation is salah. A person who doesn't pray, or a person who rejects the prayer, it's really hard to come and say this person is a Muslim. Because one of the first things that defines you as a Muslim is your relationship with God. So salah is very important. Bunya al-Islam ala khamsa, ala salah, was zakat, giving charity, wal hajj, accepting the hajj, was sawm, and fasting during the month of Ramadan. And the 5th, the Imam alayhi salam, he says, wal wilayah, and the wilayah, accepting the leadership after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because today, you have 1.6 billion Muslims, 1.6, 1.7 billion Muslims. They all accept Rasulullah. They all say La ilaha illallah. But they're very divided. They're very different. What is the differentiating factor? It is the wilayah. It is who you choose as a leader after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And then Rasulullah said, and then Imam al-Baqir says, قال Zurara, he asks Imam al-Baqir, he says, وَأَيُّ شَيْءٍ مِّن ذَلِكَ أَفْضَلُ? What is the best out of these 5? Salah, Sawm, Zakat, Hajj, and Wilaya. He tells him, قَالَ الْوِلَايَ أَفْضَلُ. Imam al-Baqir, he says, Wilaya, leadership is the greatest. Why? لأنها مفتاحهن والوالي هو الدليل عليهن. Because the wilaya is the key to a correct hajj. It is the key to a correct salah. It is the key to correct fasting. It is the key to getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, walwali, the leader, he is the dalil. He's the one who guides you. He's like the pilot that is guiding you. An airplane without a pilot is not going to go anywhere. A ship without a captain is not going to go anywhere. It needs someone to show you the way. It needs someone to navigate and guide you through the darkness, through the difficult issues that we run into in life. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, on the day of Ghadir, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he said a statement, and this statement is recorded by all Muslims. No one denies the event of Ghadir. No one. Even Ibn Taymiyyah, a man who tried to deny all of the fada'il of Ali ibn Abi Talib, he can't deny the hadith of Ghadir, where Rasulullah says, Man kuntu mawlah, fahada aliyun mawlah. Whoever I'm his mawla, Ali ibn Abi Talib is his mawla. And then Rasulullah, after he did this, he says another statement. He does a dua for Imam Ali. He says, Allahumma wali man walah, wa adi man adah, wansur man nasarah, wakhdul man khadalah. Oh Allah, love those who follow Ali ibn Abi Talib. And be an enemy, wa'adi man adah. Be an enemy of the one who's an enemy of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and let down whoever disappoints and lets down Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And this is clear. If you are with God, if you are with the truth, if you defend the Prophet, and if you defend the truth, God will be with you. Allah says in the Quran, "In tansur Allah yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum." If you stand steadfast with God, God will defend you. But if you let go, then you will begin to see the miseries and you will begin to see the trials. And my dear brothers and sisters, the history of Islam is clear to the neglect and the letting down of Ali ibn Abi Talib that took place in history. And today when we see Muslims are divided, when we see Muslims are suffering, when we see all of the calamities that fell upon the Muslims and Muslims can't defend themselves, one of the reasons is because they let down Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Some of the first calamities that fell down were the day of Ashura, which we will commemorate in a couple of days. The day of Ashura, the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein. An imam after an imam was killed, and today you see the state of Muslims. Two events took place during this last week that I wanted to shed light on before we conclude. The first is the burning of the Quran in Sweden. You see, in Europe, every few years or every few months, when they want to flex their muscles and show that they have freedom of speech, what do? What's the first thing they do? They go to the Quran and they say, okay, we allowed the burning of the Quran. They go to Muslims and they make laws that marginalize and ostracize Muslims. In fact, this is not freedom of speech. This is hate speech. And in Europe, precisely in Europe, there are many laws that limit free speech. Just one example, right now in 16 European countries and Canada, it is illegal to deny the Holocaust. It's illegal to come and say or question the Holocaust. It's illegal. Go look at this up. But then when it comes to burning the Quran, no, this is freedom of speech. You have to have freedom of speech. How is a society going to flourish without freedom of speech? Why is it that you limit other types of speech, but when it comes to the Quran, this is the time you want to flex your muscles and say there's freedom of speech? No, this is not freedom of speech. This is marginalizing over 1.6 billion Muslims, and burning the Quran is not a symbol of free speech, because it is the Quran that gives us, and it is God who gives us the rights. Islam came before the Europeans and before the Constitution and before anything else. Islam is what gave us human rights. Islam is what gave us the rights to speak. So burning the Quran is actually an insult to free speech. It is an insult to Christianity and all of the Christian beliefs. It is an insult to Judaism and all of the Jewish beliefs. And it is an insult to all of the prophets, including Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And it is an insult to humanity. So burning the Quran is not something that shows freedom of speech and advancement. No, it is actually going backwards. Another very important point I wanted to just finally shed light on is the recent attack on Jenin in Palestine. And this is also an atrocity. This shows the weakness of the Muslims. Right now, these homes, you all probably saw in the media how they come with the bulldozers and they're just demolishing homes one after the other. Homes that people live in. Where are these people going to go? They're already living in a refugee camp. Now inside the refugee camp, they have nowhere to go. And the sad part is that the US Congress and the American government, which is sending every few days, you hear of billions and millions of dollars being sent to Ukraine to continue fueling the war over there. Here, when Israel is demolishing homes and every day innocent lives are being taken, US Congress and American politicians are quiet. They're not saying anything. Here, my dear brothers and sisters, the least thing we could do is we have to speak out and we have to try to raise awareness to this atrocity that is taking place. My dear brothers and sisters, inshallah, not this coming Tuesday, but next Tuesday we will begin the Ashura program, inshallah, on July 18th, and we will carry on to July 29th, inshallah. There will be a lecture in Arabic at 8:15 p.m. and the English lecture will be right after Salat al-Maghrib, inshallah, at 10 p.m. inshallah. We look forward to seeing you all. And this Saturday, tomorrow, inshallah, at 7 p.m., we will be having our final snack and chat before Muharram begins. Heritage Park, inshallah. We look forward to seeing you all and your families. And once again, Eid al-Ghadir Mubarak to all of you. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك غافر الخطيئات إنك على كل شيء قدير.